Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the MSR workshop. Well, we have finally made it to the end of 2021. It is 2022 now, and I thought what better way to end the year off than do a shop tour. I've only ever actually done one other shop tour, and I think it was about 2009 since I did it, so a lot has changed. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. I always enjoy looking at shop tours, but let's get started. So we are going to start off at kind of the doors of my workshop, and this is actually a two-car garage that I've got a whole bunch of stuff packed into. So over on this side is something new that I built. I used to have lumber racks on this wall, and then I covered it with paneling, which makes screwing stuff to it a lot easier and a lot stronger because then I don't have to find a stud. And I built this miter saw station. Now the legs and everything were something I found on Amazon. They are hard plastic, but they're very thick, and it comes with a lot of different ways you can configure this to whatever needs you have. I made these tops and recessed a miter track in here so I can do stops. This is one of my new purchases this year. It's actually not too long ago where I picked up the Festool Capex. I've wanted one for a really long time, but it was more of a luxury item than I have to have it item. So I've been using my really cheap Hitachi miter saw, and it's worked all right. It just didn't have the precision that I wanted. But you know what happens when you spend a lot of money, or you have money, you end up spending it on some other tools that you may need more, and so that's why it kept getting put off. Up here we've got my sanding storage for my belt sander, and then for a strip sander, kind of came up with that, just somewhere to put all these so I can have them easily accessed. This is a little splining jig that I made for a table saw, and this ginormous table saw sled. It's extremely overkill, and it's super heavy, but it does work very well. Moving back down to the miter saw station, you got to see all these racks for storage down here. Got some of my Festool stuff down there. And these are a super fun thing that I found. Somebody else had done them. These are storage bins for all the sanding discs, and I've got them all labeled and easy to haul them around or take somewhere if I need to. So moving over to this side, we have got the Win spindle sander. It wasn't a super expensive purchase, but it was a really nice one. It works quite well. It's a little noisy. Actually, it's real noisy. But dust collection on it actually is really good. So I do enjoy that. Within the last, not the last calendar year, but probably within the last year, because I think I purchased this sometime in the winter of this last year. This Grizzly 20-inch planer. In my first shop tour video, I believe I had my Delta 15-inch, and it had the straight knives, which I converted over to the helical head. And once I've gone to helical head tools, I will never go back to straight knives. The helical head works so much better, it's so much quieter, and I don't have to worry about constantly keeping those knives sharp. One thing that I highly recommend is these mobile bases. These are the Bora heavy-duty mobile bases. This one here on that tool is the 360-degree one, so you can swivel it in any direction, and it's great for putting it in a corner, and then when you want to pull it out into the middle of your room, you don't have to fight with it to go where you want. It really rolls really good. It almost rolls too good because I have to keep it from getting out of control because it wants to roll so good. Next tool that I love for cutting boards. This is a essential tool, I believe, for cutting boards. Is some sort of drum sander. And this is the Supermax 2550. Really do like this tool. But one thing I hated about it is the mobile base that came on it. And it had the big foot pedal and the fixed wheels in the back. So this one is another one of the Boro heavy-duty mobile bases. This is also a 360-degree version, but is not the super heavy-duty one that's fairly pricey. This one's a little bit less expensive one, which I didn't need that one because it's not so heavy. But this, it gives a little bit smaller footprint, so the wheel or the foot pedal doesn't stick so far out, and then you can just pull it straight out and swivel it wherever you want in the shop, and it rolls so much better. Moving over here, this is my SawStop industrial 3-horse cabinet saw with the 52-inch rails and the fold down extension table. And I did a video on these wings here, these right here, these inserts, because normally this is open when you buy it from SawStop, but I built the made it a solid top. This is that Hitachi saw that I was talking about. It's a super cheap saw, but it's just a good starting place if you need a miter saw. Dust collection obviously was terrible. If you'll notice down there, I tried to come up with a little bit better of a shroud, and it did help a little bit. But it's definitely nothing like the Festool saw. So continuing on this wall here, of course I get to share my garage with my kids and my family. So this is where I kind of work on all my bike stuff, as well as I have my sharpening station. So we got all the bike tools to work on bikes, take them apart, put them back together, and fix stuff. With the pegboard here, which I have a fun little sticker collection. And then we've got the sharpening station here, Tormek 2000. I've been rocking this for a long time. Really, really like it. Got a couple of different stones. I've got the black stone that you can sharpen, or actually not sharpen, they say retouch up carbide, because it's a super hard compound. And then the water stone, which is like a 4000 grit, which I hardly ever put on just because you have to take everything apart to put it back on. And then I've got the giant granite plate. The nice thing about this particular model of granite plate, it is big enough to put 2 full-size sheets of sandpaper on it. So you can have 2 different grits going here. So if you're flattening the back of a plane iron, it's nice because you can jump from one grit to the other without having to peel it off and then re-stick the next grit down. And we have got the bike helmets stuck over there. And moving over here, we have got the Woodpecker router table. That this last year also we put in the JESM Master R lift and installed a digital height readout. Haven't used the height readout a whole lot just because I haven't done a whole lot of repeatable things that I need to go back and reset the height. But it does make it super accurate if you're needing a specific depth of, say, a dado or whatever. You can dial it in specifically and very, very precise without having to use like the spacer blocks and all that kind of stuff. It's just one less thing to have floating around your shop that can get lost. Now under here, I highly recommend getting a router box for underneath your router, because otherwise just a mess goes everywhere. And with these, it's almost eliminated the amount of dust that goes all over with that. We've got the Jet JWBS 14 SFX, which is their steel frame saw. Really like this saw. I did a review on it. There were some little features that I didn't like, but once I got those kind of ironed out, I really enjoy using the saw. And this saw stays primarily for scroll work, tight turns. Let the kids use it a little bit because it's a bit safer than the big saw. But we usually keep a 1/8 inch blade on it. and the Carter stabilizer guide, so we can make those bandsaw boxes and really, really tight turns, and it works fantastic for that. This is probably, close to, if not the biggest purchase in my shop. And this is the Powermatic 1800B. This is their giant 18-inch saw with an 18-inch resaw capacity, 18-inch width of cut, 5-horse motor. And just to give you an idea how much prices have gone up, this saw has almost increased by almost $2,000, which is stupid. Which unfortunately puts it out of the reach of most woodworkers. I'm a nurse and I had to pick up a bunch of extra shifts at the hospital just so I could purchase this. But if price had gone up, I probably would not have gotten this saw. So I'm very fortunate enough to get this saw. And now even there is a waiting list just to get a lot of tools. Powermatic, Jet, everybody has just gone up in price. It's kind of sad for the industry because, you know, tools that once were sort of affordable to people are now hardly aren't at all. This is my back corner of my shop/garage. And this was a door to go outside, but it is not anymore because I've kind of sealed it shut and installed a heater/air conditioner. And this is a lifesaver for when it's freezing outside, which is about 17 degrees outside right now. It does take a while to heat up in here, but it does keep it semi-comfortable. Now in the summertime, the air conditioner really does work good. And it is a 220 unit, so I had to install an extra 220 plug, but now I do have two of them, or I only had one before, so I kind of had to share with a lot of tools, so it got unplugged and plugged in a lot. This is one of actually the first tools that I purchased from Rikon back in the day when they were all green instead of the blue like they are now. And this is their, don't even ask me the model. I think that's a 10-inch disc on there though, but it is a workhorse. It's held up like a tank. It's super easy to work on. I had to work on the switch a couple times because it's a paddle switch inside and those little contacts sometimes when you turn it on and off. I don't know if you've ever taken a paddle switch apart before, but the way they work is there's just a pad on either end and it contacts the power and then switches on when you take it off. So every time you connect and disconnect power, there is a little bit of an arc of electricity. Well, that little arc gets hot and sometimes the switch will either stick on and it's hard to turn off. So you kind of got to go and stick it and then take that little lead off and kind of sand it flat where it's arced a little bit and kind of melted itself together. But it's, like I said, it's super easy to work on. Now, one drawback to having a system like this particular belt sander is because it's a belt drive. So you have the top disc or the bottom disc, which is a direct drive, and then the belt on top is running off of a belt. And so you don't get as much torque on the top belt. Like if you push down, you can either stall it. I wouldn't say stall it so much as the belts will slip. A direct drive where you have the belt and the disc running directly off the motor are great, but you can't have the disc and the belt on the same side, if that makes sense. Like you have a disc here and the belt, and you can have it pushed up against a wall and be able to access both of those without having to have access to the other side. If I were to go to a bigger one where it was a direct drive, I would have the advantage of the direct drive, but then I couldn't have it up against a wall because I would need 360 access around the tool to access both of the features. And right now with my limited space, I can't have that. So I'm kind of stuck with using this one. It's been good to me and I'll keep using it until hopefully someday I'm able to get a shop, and then in which case I'll probably sell this and get a direct drive one, just because being able to really hog material off on the belt without it stalling is really a nice thing. Got sandpaper down here. This was actually one of the very first things I did when I moved into my house back in, 2003, 2004? and I built this workbench back here. They had a sort of workbench back here, but I beefed it up, and there's been a couple iterations of this. It is not as functional as I would like it to be, just because it's stuck back here in a corner. So I can't clamp giant boards and plane and stuff like that because I've got so many other tools around it. So it ends up being more of a junk collector than anything. But there is space for a counter to work on little piddly stuff. I built this plane till to store hand tools and hand planes. I don't get to use them as much as I would like, but when I need one, they are sure handy to have. Obviously, when I get a bigger shop, I'm going to get a dedicated woodworker's tool bench that's, parked in the middle of the room that I can access all the way around, that I can actually clamp big boards into and, joint edges of boards and do more hand tool work, because I really enjoy hand tools and using them. Just my space is a little bit limited, so I don't get to use them quite as much. And then got some fun stuff. I enjoy swords, so that one up top there, that wood one, I made that one. And then there are some restored Diston hand saws. And then just odds and ends storage, router bits, every nut and bolt you can think of, except when you want the one that you don't have. So moving over to this side of the shop, we got the bikes hanging from the ceiling. Once again, I share with the rest of the family, so the bikes get parked in the in the garage. This is my little bitty workbench that I actually built for my son, but I think I use it more than him. We both use it. But it was a fun little bench to build. It's got all the dog holes in it and stuff. And right now I'm taking a little pancake air compressor apart just to kind of clean it out and replace the power cord because it's coming apart right here. Clamp rack. Never have enough clamps. I need some more. These are the Bessie pipe clamps, which I absolutely love. And look, I've got a spot for 2 more. We've got the built-ins here that I put in. These actually came from Lowe's, and I left them unfinished because I like the look. And then I put wood paneling on this wall as well, and then was able to screw those and hang those up. Put a couple shelves right there for a couple Festool boxes. And there's a couple things up there that I turned on the lathe. A little bandsaw box up there. Still using a little work left to be doing on that one. Nova Voyager drill press. Hands down, I believe this is the best drill press you can buy for, I say, a woodworker. Granted, they're more expensive metal and machining drill presses, but as a woodworker's drill press, I think this is probably one of the best you can get. Absolutely love it. It's got so many features. Some of I haven't been able to, or I haven't used yet. Not haven't been able to use them, but just haven't used them yet. But I really want to start learning how to do a little tapping with it, which should be fun. A little Harbor Freight pressure pot down there. Video on YouTube I watched how to convert this into a pressure pot for doing casting. That's kind of been fun. I've done some pin blanks and stuff. Had this a number of years now, and this is the Jet scroll saw. Works fantastic. Great scroll saw. I was able to get this for a steal off of Facebook Marketplace. Probably wouldn't have paid full price for it just because it was a little bit too expensive for me, but getting it off a used site and it was almost new condition, I couldn't pass up that deal. Another one of my favorite tools here is this Grizzly G0858 helical head joiner. This is an 8-inch joiner. Wish they made a 10-inch joiner because that would have been just a little bit bigger and nicer, but they always jump up to a 12 and a 16, which I don't know why they don't have 10s. They have 10s in a combination with like planer joiner, but I don't want a planer joiner combo. I just want a joiner. But in any case, it works fantastic, and it's got the helical blade on it once again, which I will never go back to those straight knives that you got to worry about sharpening. And I'm not sure who manufactures their helical heads, but they're really nice and they're coated with something, so it doesn't appear that I've had to worry about any kind of rust at all. It's just dust on them, versus the bird Shelix heads, which don't appear to be kind of coated. And so some people have complained a little bit about rust problems with them, but this has held up really nice and I've been really happy with it. All right, I think we're getting close to the back of my shop here and the end of the tour. Some more built-ins and all my lathe stuff. I haven't done any turning in a while, but I hope to do some more turning this next year, get some more turning videos out. And I made these cut-ins where I cut into my drywall, made these recesses for the turning tools to hang there. Then they don't take up a bunch of room, they lay flush against the wall, and they're easily accessible. Now, my very first shop video, I briefly went over my one-way lathe, which hands down, I believe this is the best lathe that you can buy. It was the biggest one at the time, and I believe it still is the biggest one that One-Way offers. It's a 3-horse motor. It's got stainless steel beds, which is just the only tool in my shop that has stainless steel on it, which it's amazing because you don't have to worry about any kind of rust. You can put wet wood on it, you can do whatever, you can lay your blanks on it. And with turning, a lot of people turn wet wood. It's a pain to keep cast iron from rusting, especially when you're turning wet stuff. So stainless steel was definitely a nice option. It was an expensive option, but it was definitely nice. This is a red oak burl that is in the process of being turned. And I've got a video working for that one, so I'll get that video up. Let's see if I forgot anything. Still got the jet dust collector hanging from the ceiling. It's nice when I remember to turn it on. Oh, and one other thing. I did a video on these, but I switched all of my lights out in my shop. I had just fluorescent fixtures to these little screw-in bulbs, and these are deformable LEDs, and they are insanely bright. I believe they're like 12,500 lumens each, and I've got 6 of them. So as you can imagine, my shop is super bright, and it makes it great for shooting videos, and you never have hardly any shadows. Very nice. And then I got my dust collection system, which I just did a video on that, where all my plumbing and everything is running up to my attic, where I have a small dust collector up there. So that is it for the MSR workshop tour. Give you one more pan shot. Well, everybody, thanks for joining me on this shop tour. I hope you enjoyed it. If you saw any tools that you had questions about, just leave them in the comments below. If there's a tool that I haven't done a review on that you would like to see me do one on, also leave those in the comments below. And I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers, and I hope you have a great and productive new year. And I can't wait to share new content that I've got coming up for you. Thanks, guys.